about a talking tractor. But first, let me remind you, I made up this story years ago when my children were small, and I told it as a bedtime story, and they all seemed to enjoy it. So your mother thought I should record it and send you each a recording. So I'm dedicating this to my children. The story of a talking tractor. Once there was a farmer. His name was Mr. Jones. He lived in a small village, and he had a nice farm where he enjoyed working, growing vegetables, and doing repairs. That's all he enjoyed doing, just staying around the farm. He had a very nice farm. So he was looking for a tractor, a new tractor or a good rebuilt one. And this day he decided he was going to the grocery store and get some things. It was about 2 miles down the road, and he thought he would walk down to the store and maybe he'd meet some people along the way that he hasn't seen for a long time. So as he was walking down the road, he noticed on the right side, in an empty lot, there was a nice, shiny, red tractor, and it had a sign on it, "For sale." "Oh," he says, "maybe I'm in luck." So he walked up to the tractor and looked around. It was nice and shiny and red, looked like new. He looked at the tires. The tires were all like new. Just then a man came down by the tractor and says, "Would you like to buy this tractor?" Mr. Jones says, "Yes, I'm interested in a tractor," he says, "but I can't afford to buy a new one. But this looks like new." The man says, "Yes, it's in good condition." "How much are you asking for it?" said Mr. Jones. The man says, $500. "Wow, that's a good price," he says. "I would like to buy it. Could I hear the motor run?" The man said, "Yes, here's the keys. You could try it." So he turned the motor on. He started up, and it sounded real good. He said he couldn't understand why this tractor was only $500. It was like new. So he told the man, "I'll buy it." He says, "I'd like to get it." So he gave the man $100, and he says, "I'll be back later today and pay the rest and take the tractor." So that's what he did. He went to the store first, then he went back home. He told his wife about it, and they went back, paid the rest of the money, and took the tractor home. Now, a few days later, after he got the title transferred and everything, he thought he'd take this tractor for a ride, see how it runs along the road. So he went down along the road with it, and he was enjoying driving it. And he was approaching a gas station. He says, "I think I'll put some gas in it," he said, "because the tank looks low." Just then a voice says, "Yes, I do need some gas." He said, "Who is that?" He looked around. He didn't see anybody. He said, "Who said that?" And the voice says, "It is I." "Who are you?" He says, "I am the talking tractor." "A talking tractor," he says. "How could that be?" he says. And he says, "Yes, that's why the man sold me for such little money, because he didn't want a talking tractor." Mr. Jones says, "Well, I don't know if I want a talking tractor. It's going to scare people." But Mr. Jones says, "I'm big and I'm strong. I'm not afraid." The tractor says, "Well, I'm sure glad that you're not afraid, because I'm looking for a friend that will keep me, and someone I can talk to." Mr. Jones says, "Well, I don't mind that, but I don't want you scaring people. I know how people are. They get scared if you say I have a talking tractor." He said, "I'll be careful, Mr. Jones." "All right," Mr. Jones says, "we'll go down and get some gas." So they pulled into the gas station, and the gas attendant man came out. He said, "Would you please fill up the car with the tractor with gas?" He says, "and check the oil and water." And he says, "I'd like to use your men's room." And the man says, "Yes, there's a men's room right over there. You could use it while I'm filling up the gas." So Mr. Jones went into the men's room. The man filled up the tractor with gas. Then he lifted up the hood and was checking the water and the oil. And just then a sound says, "Look out! Step back! The hood's coming down!" And the man jumped back quickly, and the hood fell down. Boom! He said, "Who was that? What happened?" And the tractor says, "Well, the hood was falling down, so I thought I'd let you know so you get out of the way. You could get hurt." He says, "Who is that?" He says, "Who's talking here? There's nobody here." And the tractor says, "It is I, the talking tractor." "A talking tractor?" He says. "Oh my, this is spooky. This is scary." He ran inside, and he locked the door. Meantime, the farmer came out of the men's room, and he looked. There was no man by the tractor. So he went to the door of the office, and the door was locked. He says, "How much do I owe you? Did you fill it up with gas?" The man said, "Yes, it's all full. You're all set, but I don't want anything." He said, "What do you mean you don't want anything?" He kept waving his hands. "Go, go, go," he says. "I don't want anything." He said, "I want to pay you." "No, no, no." He says, "Go." So the farmer left. The farmer says, "Oh, he looked awful scared." He says, "I'll bet the tractor was talking and scared him." So he went over to the tractor, got in. He says, "Did you talk to that man and scare him away?" He says. The tractor says, "Well, he was checking the water and the oil, and he didn't have the hood up right, and it was falling down. It was going to hurt his hands or his head, and I hollered at him to get out of the way," he says. "And then I talked to him, and he got scared." The farmer says, "Oh my, I'm in trouble, I know, with this talking tractor." He was going to start the tractor up, and the tractor says, "Mr. Jones, you better latch the hood, 'cause the man ran off and he didn't latch it." Mr. Jones says, "Oh, all right." He got out, and he said, "I guess you're good for something," he told the tractor. "You remind me of these things." They went out, latched the hood, and got back in, and off they went down the road. Now they came to the store, and Mr. Jones says, "I'm going to go in the store and get some things, and I'll be right out. Don't be scaring anybody." So he went in and got a few things, and then there were some young people standing out there and looking at the tractor. It looked so nice and shiny and new. So they're looking it over. Then all of a sudden, this tractor started to talk. And it says, "Don't touch me." And the people stepped back. They were going to touch the paint, and they stepped back. He says, "Who said that?" They said, "Who said that?" He says, "I said that." He says, "Don't get too close to me." He says, "What do you mean? Who's saying don't get too close to me?" The tractor said, "It is I, the talking tractor, is telling you that." "A talking tractor?" they said. They backed up. They were frightened. They started backing away from the tractor. It's a tractor that's talking. Just then Mr. Jones was coming out of the store, and the young people says, "Mr. Jones, your tractor talks like a person." "It does?" he says. "Yeah," he says, "while you were in the store it was talking." "Oh," he says, "is that right?" So he knew that, but he didn't want to say anything to scare them, so he got in the tractor, and he went home with the tractor. On the way home, he told the tractor, he says, "You know, I've decided. I'm going to keep you, but we'll have to stay on the farm. We'll do the work on the farm, and we'll be friends, but I can't take you around where you're going to scare people." The tractor says, "Oh, that's all right with me, Mr. Jones. I just would like to be your friend and work with you." So then the word got around. Young people started telling other people about it. The gas attendant man started to tell people when they'd come for gas about this talking tractor. Now all the people in the town knew about Mr. Jones having this talking tractor. So they would go up by his farm, but they wouldn't get too close. And they could see Mr. Jones plowing the field with his tractor and doing his work. His head is nodding up and down like he's talking to somebody. His mouth is moving. And they would say, "Look, look, Mr. Jones, his mouth is moving. He's talking to the tractor." But they wouldn't get too close because they were kind of scared. They said it was spooky for a talking tractor. So Mr. Jones enjoyed having the tractor, and the tractor enjoyed being with Mr. Jones. They were good friends, and they stayed on the farm and lived happily after. That's the end of the story.